You're listening to the Military Millionaire Podcast, a show about real estate investing for the working class. Stay tuned as we explore ways to help you improve your finances, build wealth through real estate, and become a person that is worth knowing.
What's up, Military Millionaires? I wanted to briefly talk about a service I offer that a whole lot of people don't seem to know about, and I guess that's a failure on my part for not having discussed it enough. So look, finding a realtor that understands investing and or the VA loan or both is not always the easiest thing in the world. And finding a lender, same thing. So what I have started doing is I've built I have a large network, but I've started to compile it all together finally as a legitimate Excel document driven, location driven list for you guys, essentially. So what it is basically just my way of helping connect you with a realtor or a lender that I know personally and have vetted and talked to and understand that they're not going to screw you. And what I do is, like, for example, I had a market where I had 2 or 3 agents that I all sent the same person as a connection and said, hey man, I trust, I know all of these. Let me know what you think. And they all said the same agent and same thing. So what I've done is if there's multiple agents in the same market, I choose the best one, and that's who I'm going to hook you up with. But the whole point of this is just to help ensure that you get connected to the best agent. So if that is something that you would like, just go to the website, go to FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/VA-Realtor/ or just reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook, whatever. I'll send you the link, or you can find it on the resources page of the website. But look, all it is a way to help connect you with an agent who's going to hook you up. No, I don't charge a fee for you. No, I don't charge a fee for the agent. It's just a way to hook you guys up. At the end of the day, as a buyer, you're not going to pay for a realtor anyway. So, ta-da, it's magic. You might as well use one. As far as VA lender, I've got a really good one that I work with and know very well. There's several others that are pretty good, and I'll probably try to steer you away from some companies that I just don't think are very reputable or have been very helpful. So, if this is a service that sounds good to you for free $99, then reach out. And if not, then enjoy the show right now. What's up? Alex was
What's up, Dave?
Hulk smashing his computer before we hit record, but
I Hulk smashed my computer this morning. But I'll tell you what, I'm doing okay. I think I'm going to, over the next few weeks, I'm going to turn my photography hobby into a real, actual business, and I think it's going to do. I actually have a lot of demand already, so
yeah, it'll do good. You built it up the right way. It'll be good. Today's guest is Dave Seymour. So this should be a little interesting. So he was not in the military. He's a firefighter EMT, but you may know him from Flipping Boston. So he's been around a little bit. They reached out, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, sounds good. So
flipping and video, you're up my alley.
Yeah. So it should be a good time. But let's bring him in because he just hopped in the waiting room, and let's just get this thing rolling.
Let's do it. Thank you.
So fucking telling us your story of woes, you prick. Let's go to work. Come on.
Oh my gosh. All right. So that's how the show's going to go. I'm going to leave that as the intro. That's awesome. So every episode I end up going too long and Alex has to tell me to hurry up. But today the guest joined in, which is awesome. So, hey, what's up, Military Millionaires? I'm your host, David Pere. And of course, this is your co-host, Alex Felice, who still thinks he's a temp, but can't get away. And, We've got on the show Dave Seymour, which is for those of you who've ever watched the show Flipping Boston, is probably a familiar face, or CNN, CBS. He's been around the block a little bit.
I'm a big deal, dude. Let me tell you, I'm all that in a bag of chips, brother.
So we've been chatting before the recording, and I think you guys are gonna like this guy for sure. So Dave started out as a firefighter, EMT. He did that for like 16 years, and then he got into real estate investing, and he has just exploded. Like I said, you've probably seen him on TV. Now he's doing very large private equity deals and multifamily syndication deals, and we're going to kind of dig through all of that today, so it's going to be fun. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man. It's nice. It's like BSing with you guys a little bit before the show. It's nice to... I don't know, man. Look, I always look at it this way. I said before the show, I'm kind of like a blue-collar guy in a white-collar world. In finance and big money, it's loaded with I can swear on the show, huh? It's loaded with
absolutely.
fucking pretension. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've made it like a mission. The TV show gives you a big set of balls when you walk into a room, right? So I've made it kind of like a mission for me to be able to take some of that Harvard pretension and tuck it in the corner somewhere and just have real conversations. So I love just BSing with you guys. First time we met, but my kind of peeps, yo. You know what I'm saying? For sure.
Yeah, I have a bank background, and it's like I'm the only one who's not a stiff. It's very.
Isn't that interesting? I tell you, here's my take on it, right? So I'm a working class guy from London originally. I was born in London. I grew up in England and emigrated back in '86. So my dad was, he was a heat and air conditioning guy. You know what I'm saying? My mom was secretary in a bank. So there was no financial education. There was no, I wonder what the stock market's doing today, David. You know what I mean? That didn't happen in my household. It was like, do we have enough green stamps to buy some shopping or groceries this week? So, as you come into this world, like you say, Alex, the stiffs, I honestly believe that a lot of the jargon, financial jargon, real estate jargon, investing jargon is an intentional separation between us and them. You know what I mean? Like if you don't understand the vocabulary, right, you can't play the game. And I think it's intentional. I really do.
Yeah, I have a finance degree and a bank background, and I've been in underwriting, but I was in the Army, and I'm as rough as it gets. I tell people, I'm like, I have a rough exterior, right? But I also have a rough interior, right? and it is interesting because I speak both languages, and so to me, I have that. I've never thought about it the way you said it, but I'm like, why are all these people so uptight? You can be a little raw and you can wear pink shirts and work in banking, but nobody does. And I never thought that it was intentional, like you said, but maybe it does seem like a little separation of.
In England, the class structure in England is very defined, right? And it's difficult to move through those class structures. If you're a worker bee, you're a worker bee for life. Your goal is to bang out 40 years of 40 hours plus a week, and hopefully have enough of a pension to retire on. And in England, I grew up on the English equivalent of the projects where, it was council housing. And, we never aspired to have home ownership or financial fortitude or depth. It just wasn't on the radar. But there was plenty of people around me growing up who had money. And then when you come to America, and here's what I love about this country, and I'm proud to carry an American passport. Proud of my heritage, don't get me wrong. I'm a Londoner, I'm an Englishman, wave the flag, God bless the Queen, cup of tea and all of that shit. But at the end of the day, I am proud to be an American because this country gave me the ability to move through financial classes, right? As long as you've got the fucking balls to get up, stand up, participate, right? Be in the game rather than sitting on the sidelines crying. This country's amazing. So it's allowed a guy like me to work his way into closed rooms that the average dude can't get into, right? Because of those barriers to entry, whether it's intelligence and financial intelligence, not intelligence in the sense of you're dumb, you're smart, but intelligence in the subject, intelligence in the deployment of capital, intelligence in the process, and then having the balls to do it. Just having the balls to actually get up and go rather than sit there with your hand out. So I'm a grateful immigrant turned U.S. citizen, and I take that seriously. I really do. And your audience probably understands that more than most. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the audience definitely speaks language number one of beat chest, say fuck. But I think you're spot on with a lot of that, really. And I also think that I like that you just keep reiterating the having cojones, because I think that's one of the things, like being a real estate investor in the military, fundamentally there is no difference from being a real estate investor anywhere. And I always just tell people, like, aside from like the VA loan, but which isn't meant for investing, so whatever. But I tell people all the time, like, the biggest thing that helps service members out with investing is that the Marine Corps, the military in general, makes you decisive, and it gives you a set of balls. And like those two things, like being able to pull the trigger on something and roll, I've had success in things I never should have tried. So
no, I concur, young man. I mean, I concur. Look, I'm thinking about I've been blessed to be in the educational space before the TV show and then heavily after the TV show. So I've had the honor and the pleasure of interacting with a lot of military folks, and to be very direct with you, their chances of success have been higher than a lot of others for the exact reasons that you described, right? You take look, if I'm successful at what I do and you see that, you respect it, and I tell you turn left and not turn right, you're going to fucking turn left. Don't question me. Turn left. It works, asshole, right? You got a CO who understands what they're doing, that you respect, that you follow. They say jump, and I don't mean to be corny and disrespectful in any way. They say jump, you say how high, right? Because you know it's the right thing to do because you're going to get the result that you want. So there's so many parallels between, the process of capital, the process of investing, the process of business. Look, some of the very, very best have come out of the military and become some of the very, very best, business coaches. I'm thinking of the big bald guy. He was SAS. He does a lot of business coaching now.
Oh, Jocko.
Jocko. If you follow some of the stuff that Jocko teaches and the way that he describes it, leadership in a real estate investing business requires fucking accountability, right? I own it. I own all of it. I own the good, the bad, the ugly. I own the right decisions. I own the wrong decisions. We celebrate our victories, right? And we learn from our challenges and losses. And if you bring that kind of mentality into it, brother, it's fucking on like Donkey Kong. It's showtime. You know what I'm saying? So I took a lot of that. That's funny. That was one of the ways I actually got the TV show, because I was still fighting fires when I applied for that show. And my catchphrase is when everybody else is running out, we're running in, because that's what we do, right? Yeah. Everyone else runs away from a firefight. In the military, you're trained to engage. And it's the same thing in real estate, right? 2008, I started real estate. people are saying to me, what do you do? I say, I'm a real estate investor. And they go, oh, I'm sorry. You think you had some kind of terminal illness, you know what I mean? But, with discipline, with truth, knowing what you can and what you can't do, and then executing on what you can do, delegating and learning what you can't do, it becomes repeatable, which is really what we want, right? We want a repeatable process. I want to know that if I do 1, 2, 3, and 4, number 5 is a payday. And once I really simplified it like that, I just kept going and going and going and going, and learning along the way. So I believe that the military mentality has a leg up. It has a power process behind it that not a lot of other folks can carry into the game. Does that make sense? I'm sure it does to you guys, right?
So I'm thinking of all our listeners right now, which are overwhelmingly primarily military people. And, when I was getting these skills, but I didn't really appreciate them until I was older and I could reflect on what I learned. And so many of the things you're saying right now, like if a young GI is listening to this, like, dude, there's so many advantages in military experience that don't really, having Dave explain them really lets them manifest. Like, first, your brash approach, right? I mean, people in America love that, right? If you can come in, you're like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. We're here to get shit done. They're like, oh, this guy's got it. Yeah, Two is radical responsibility, hyper accountability. Like day one in the Army, they taught me, they're like, no more mistakes. You just say you fucked up. You take it. You own it.
You own it.
It's like,
say sorry.
That helps. Systemization, right? Like, hey, look, we know how to do this. We're going to make an SOP. We're going to make it standard. We're going to make it repeatable. Like those things really translate into real estate. Like once you know how to do it once, dude, the game's over. Right. Sure. And so many of these things are skills that you learn in the military, but they're not so apparent. So the fact that you're listing them out like this, I think really helps, a guy who's listening to this, like the skills that you're getting, they don't seem so apparent, but if you list them out like that, they're pretty obvious and they work.
I heard every word of that and resonate with it. And I'm thinking back, and I didn't mention this pre-call because it still kind of like gets me going a little bit. You said you're rough exterior, rough interior, Alex, right? So they used to call me the fucking iron marshmallow. You know what I mean? Like I'm a badass on the outside, but I'm soft as a sneaker full of shit when you really dial it in, right? But I remember, see, real estate investing it's not an individual sport. Real estate investing, wealth creation, self-made millionaire is a fucking misnomer. It doesn't exist. There is nobody, whether you take a Mark Cuban or anyone, whoever created that wealth and those processes on their own. And I'm thinking about, and you'll identify with this. I was never in the military. I actually processed for the Air Force. Don't hate me, but I processed for the U.S. Air Force when I first came to the States. The Marines were hounding me in the recruiting room next door to the Air Force room. But right. I was alien status back then, but I remember the sense of camaraderie, right? The sense of trust and faith in the guy or girl standing next to you. And I experienced a very small piece of that just in processing. And the ball breaking and the fun that came with it, knowing that it was intended to separate the weak from the strong. Simple. That's what it's for, right? Who is my man? When it gets, when the city inspector is calling and saying, if you don't fix this within the next 12 hours, I'm shutting down your job, right? Who are you going to reach out to? Who's going to be that lifeline? And I was thinking about my own experience in the fire service. We parallel that militarized structure, right? From a chief of the fire department, deputy chief, captains, lieutenants, firefighters. And, the very best guys for us were ex-military. So they came through, I'm a little older than you guys. So that, a lot of my peers in the firehouse came through Desert Storm. Then they came through the second, theater that we had out in the Middle East. And I remember this story, man. I'll tell it because you'll appreciate it. My partner on the medic truck, so I'd rotate between the engine, the ladder, and then on the medic truck, and I'd do 24s on the medic truck. And my partner was an ex-jarhead. His name was Paulie. He's ex-Marine. And we had a younger Marine circle into our job to do some ride time on the medic truck. So he was getting out of the Corps. And these two guys are standing in the kitchen, and you got old Marine talking to young Marine, right? So there was obviously that commonality right there. And they were talking about the flak jacket issues that they had on Desert Storm. And Paulie, my guy, was asking this younger kid, did they resolve that issue? And the guy says, yeah, the issue was resolved. And Paul's like, well, how do you know? And the guy said he took a couple of rounds, sent a mass while he was out there doing what he did, and the jacket held up. And I thought to myself, when I'm sitting in the chair, I was the cook in the firehouse. The first thing I said was, dude, your money's no fucking good here. I'm buying lunch for the time of year. That one's on me. And I looked at the rest of the guys on my crew. I said, you're all ponying up, you fuckers. But big picture on it was this, is like a line of communication, a given trust, and then an execution, right? So this guy had earned his right to be a part of this team. And if you take that essence and you bring it into real estate, it goes like this. It's the same process. I am the CEO. I'm the CFO. I'm the EIEI, fucking EIO, whatever I am, right? Like I'm the guy at the top. I own it. But to now surround myself with the very, very best underneath me is what makes me successful. My partner, Walter, in Florida, who buys our multifamily assets. My young partner, Eric, 24 years old, fucking genius with the computers. Delegate and build that team. And I know I went kind of long-winded, but I think it's important to understand that, for me, that's the structure of real estate investing. I do it the same way I fought fires. I never did it on my own. I locked arms. I always had somebody right there behind me or in front of me. And in the fire service, it was 2 in, 2 out. You never go alone, ever. You never go alone. There's no fucking rogue shit going on here. We do it together as a team, So it works. It works.
First, I love that this it's such a military way to check if body armor works. Oh, how do you know it works? I got shot. You couldn't find a better way to figure it out, boys?
He said he took 2. I don't understand, caliber of weapons and stuff, but it sounded like a big ass fucking bullet to me, and he took 2 of them. He was still standing there. So
I'm not taking away. I don't care what size the bullet is. I'm not taking away anything away from you if you took.
What's crazy? I worked in a city as a medic, and the gangbangers, the morons, would run around the streets, and all they ever had was 22s, right? And I get this one kid one time. He's in the back of the truck, And he's talking to his cronies. It was the blue team and the red team, and he's talking to his cronies outside the truck as we're loading him in the back. He took a couple of 22s to the side, I think it was. No, he got one in his ass and one in his side. And he's shouting at his boys. He's going, "Don't worry, boys. I'll be home, bro. It's only a 22. It's all good." So I close the door of the truck. He's being all tough. I close the door of the ambulance. I go, "Buddy, more people die from a 22 rattling around inside than any other caliber weapon." And he's like, Save me. So everyone's a tough guy when they're standing up in front of a crowd, right? And then you get some reality check, and suddenly they ain't so tough anymore. But hey, why are we talking about that? That's not real estate.
Hey,
I love your message about teamwork, because that old saying about entrepreneurship: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people.
Yeah.
And one of my skills is people. Really, I mean, everybody who really knows me, like that's what I focus on. Less than real estate is investing in people. And the more that I do that, I find that I go really far. And it's a tendency for new real estate investors to go alone. And I understand that when you're new, right? Hey, let me get 1 or 2, 3, 4 done before I start, trying to lose money for other people. But can you expand on that transition? Maybe you probably started, the idea was, let me start alone and then bring people in.
Yeah, it's, I don't want to use any of the seminar corny catchphrase, but there's a lot of truth behind those one-liners, for want of a better term. Heard a guy one time said your net worth is a direct correlation of your network, right? I started in real estate because I was a financial donkey. I worked the firehouse for 44 to 48 hours a week on average. Then I work another 20 hours in construction with my own guys, digging ditches, because I still didn't know how to manage money. And then I worked part-time retail security. I was a special cop, just trying to fucking make another buck every hour. So I came into real estate alone. And I mean that literally alone. Like, I knew how to dig a ditch. I knew how to build a deck. I knew how to put in a kitchen. But I knew nothing else. I didn't understand the other side of real estate. And, my financial illiteracy, my spending habits cost me almost a house. It cost me a marriage, almost cost me a relationship with my then 8-year-old son, who's now 24. But I was in my truck. I've always been a Ford guy. I'm driving an F-150, and I'm screaming and shouting at my God. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I did everything. I came to the land of milk and honey, the United States of America. I worked my fucking ass off, 120 hours a week. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I don't steal. I'm sober 30 years. I can't even blame it on booze. I got nothing. I got nothing to blame it on other than myself, right? And at that moment in time, the commercial came on, Teach Me Foreclosure, a free 1.5 hour seminar coming your neck of the woods. Dave, Alex, Royce, that's how it started. I showed up at a seminar with my wife, who's now my wife today, and I started hearing and seeing things that I found to be attractive and truth. And that was, I learned that debt is a tool. It's not something that you go, debt is good. Debt is good. I like leverage. I understand. Somebody told me one time you could have what's called a self-directed IRA. You didn't have to let somebody else manage your money. And I went, oh, I like that. And I just began, and I sought out mentors. I sought out people who were doing what I wanted to do. And because I've always kept my feet on the ground, I've attracted good people along the way. You know what I mean? I always I want to leave a relationship, any relationship, in a better place than what I found it. For both of us, not just for them, but for both of us, right? Reciprocity. And I took that to heart, and I stayed the course with that. And it allowed me to learn what a wholesale transaction was. And I'm $70,000 in credit card debt when I start. And then one day I get a check in my hand for $5,000 on a wholesale transaction. And I'm like, fuck, I said, this got to be illegal. I stepped out of the attorney's office, and I'm looking for 5-0 to start pulling up and grab me right there on the spot. You know, because think about what we've done in our lives to earn $5,000. And I didn't even own the house. I got a check for $5 G's. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. So it was always, locking arms with the right people. Did I always make the right choices? No. Have I been burned? Yeah. Right? Fuck me once, shame on me. Fuck me once, shame on you. Fuck me twice, shame on me. Right? So you learn those lessons financially, relationship wise, but it's always been a team, and they got to qualify. You got to qualify to come play in my sandbox, because I got the coolest sandbox in the fucking world. And if you don't bring the right attitude, if you don't bring the right work ethic, if you don't bring the right even personality, I can't stand whiners and complainers. And my captain in my firehouse used to say to me, there's drains and radiators. There's people who radiate, who want to get up and go, who want to train hard and be the best. He said, and then there's fucking radiators. And they're the guys who sit in a recliner and just complain all the time. He said, you choose who you're going to hang around with. And it's the same in real estate,
I call them propellers and anchors.
Yeah, propellers and anchors. We had a guy one time in a firehouse. Check this out, right? I'm in my first year on the job. I'm still, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'm all excited. And I'm a firefighter. Look at my cool shit, right? And I got detailed out to what we call the retirement home, which was Engine 11, which was a company that did very, very little work. And it's kind of where the older guys went. And I was there on a Saturday night on the weekend, and I'm like sitting up straight in my chair. I'm waiting for the bell to go, and we're going to go to work. And this old prick sitting next to me in the recliner, and he's flicking through the remote control. And he looks at me and he goes, this job sucks. I go, why? What's up? He goes, there's nothing on TV. He said, I'm going to bed. What? This job sucks. There's nothing on TV. I'm going to bed. And I never forgot that, because I said to myself, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that complacent asshole who's just showing up in life to get a paycheck. I'm not interested in that. I'm not signing up for that program. So I'm in my early 50s, and yet I still feel like a 24-year-old who's getting up and right. I want to go at it every day. You know what I mean? And that's because of the people that surround me. So this job sucks. I'm going to bed. You are right. Are you kidding me?
That's so good, because so many people don't, if you work with next to somebody who's 10, 15, 20 years your senior, and you don't want their life, you need to make some drastic fucking changes, my friend. Because where do you think you're going to end up?
Yeah, and that's the
truth. And it's that simple. People are sitting in a job they hate, and then they're looking at somebody next to them and they're complaining. I'm like, they're 25 years older than you.
Yeah.
What do you think about the change if you're just sitting here, making the same complaints? So I love that right there. Like that right there is a really good insight.
I wanted to interrupt this show very briefly to talk about beyondpricing.com. And this is the way that I've been doing dynamic pricing. And I just wanted to share it with you because in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten 3 bookings that have already made up for any cost that this would have been to me. In fact, it especially does because it just pulls a small piece off of, I think it's 1% off of what you make in income. And I've already seen multiple like $10, $20, $30 per day price. So yeah, sure, they might get 1% fee, but they're making me at least 5%, 10% more. So it's a win-win-win. It doesn't cost you anything out of pocket. So definitely check out beyondpricing.com. It is very good about fluctuating. What it does is it adjusts up and down your daily flow, your daily rent, so that if you have a guest on Thanksgiving, you won't make the mistake I did where they're paying the same as they would have been 2 weeks prior on a Wednesday, which sucks. I missed out on probably $200 without having this earlier. So definitely check it out. I'll put a link down below. Dynamic pricing and specifically beyondpricing.com is an absolute must for anybody in the short-term rental game. Don't get caught without it.
You know what happens too is like attracts like, right? That's the simple stuff. You know what I mean? Like attracts like. I think about some of the recruits that try to come into our engine company. I worked on Engine 1. We were like the second busiest engine company north of Boston, south of Portland, Maine. We did as many as 5,000 runs out of our firehouse as an engine company in a year, right? So a lot of it was bullshit, but it was on, right? We got the shootings, the stabbings, the fires, the wackadoos, the cracker nuts. I mean, all the flippers and floppers and wibblers and wobblers. I mean, I loved it. I loved it. I loved the chaos. I loved the adrenaline. I loved, being right on the line with it all. But there were guys that wanted to work for the fire department who didn't really want to be firefighters. And they couldn't make it. They couldn't make it. They couldn't get through the ball breaking. They couldn't get through the physicality of what we did. You know what I mean? And it finds its own level. And again, there's so many parallels between fire service, military, business that it's pretty amazing when you think about it, because there is no successful one person. It's always a team process. And then when you start to get the right people around you, you get energized. Like it's, for me, it's 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, and I'm pumped up. You guys have killed it for me today. It's perfect. I'm ready to go fuck some shit up today. You know what I mean?
You are welcome.
Right? I got some calls today, and I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm gonna go raise me $1 million today. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah!
But
Dave,
it's because of the people that are around you. You know.
Do you where are you based out of?
I'm just north of Boston. I'm in a city called. I worked in a city called Lynn, Mass, but I'm in Danvers, Massachusetts now, just north of Boston.
Do you have a full-time media production videographer on staff by chance?
Sounds like I'm about to get fucking pitched.
Yeah, it does.
We do some stuff. I shot a couple of videos as a local company, but I'm always open to discussion, my brother.
I like that you're asking the guy who has a TV show if he has access to videos.
I'm not discussing. I'm not pitching you. I'm not discussing anything. I'm gonna show up at your door with my camera.
Do it, baby. You're welcome. I'll show you around town a little bit. We're going to the into the north end to Mike's Pastry. We'll get a little cannoli. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
yeah. Hey, I'm from Rhode Island. I'm from south of Providence.
No shit. My wife's from Rhody.
Yeah. What part?
She is a Woonsocket Rocket.
Oh, Woonsocket. Yeah.
Woonsocket. Yeah. Get a couple of dynamites. Get some of them French Canadian loving going on. Yeah.
I gotta come visit. I gotta come visit. Well, I gotta come visit you, and maybe I'll see my parents while I'm up there.
Get your priorities straight, kid. My brother-in-law is a lieutenant on the Woonsocket Fire Department.
Oh, okay.
He was just up yesterday with the in-laws, which is always a fun trip. They got to hang out. This COVID shit's it's kind of crazy. You don't even know if you want to kiss and hug your own peeps, but if I worried about that every day, I'd never get out of bed. So I just pay as much attention.
Yeah.
What are you guys seeing in the military? Are they bringing in crazy SOPs for this stuff or no?
Yeah, we've had some intense for a while there. We weren't allowed to travel more than 30 miles from our home. They just shut everything down and said, you're not going anywhere. All leave is denied. Training basically ground to a halt unless it was really like critical training. And we're still doing like 14-day quarantine if someone travels out of state or out of country. Gotcha. Kind of going back to normal, but then kind of not. We're doing some telework stuff too, which is nice. So like for the last few weeks, I've worked 1 week in the office, 1 week at home with my laptop, which has allowed me to get stuff done for both the Marine Corps and life. So it's been good. But nothing super crazy. I think we're probably just adhering to what the CDC is recommending more than most people are. Yeah,
we just went through a serious lockdown in Mass, right? So we did the full lockdown thing, which was chaos. I think I ate my way through COVID. I came out 20 pounds heavier than when I went in. But we came out of that, and that we've gradually opened up, and statistically we're doing okay. You know what I mean? Like the new cases and all that stuff. But the states that just really didn't pay any attention to it, well, they're now number one news. Your Floridians and your Texans and everything else. And look, man, I don't know about anybody else, and I'm not an advocate. It's just one guy with one opinion. But if I let that be as big of a influence in my life and my business as it is for some other people, I'm not going to move forward. You know what I'm saying? I still have, I mean, these Zoom calls that we do on business are obviously pretty good. I still want to squeeze the flesh when I'm taking a check for $100,000. You know what I mean? I still want to be able to meet somebody. Yeah. Right, Alex? That person to person is still powerful, but we can do it with some intelligence. I think business can still move forward, but we're gonna see some substantial changes, end of Q4, beginning of Q1 in the real estate marketplace, and I don't know about anybody else, but I'll be locked and loaded and ready to go when that opportunity presents itself. Because of the work that we do now, we prepare for the future. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, COVID was a pisser. Whoever would have thought COVID was coming, huh?
Yeah, 2020 has been a ride for a good time. So, all right. So I'm going to ask. So I'm going to let Alex talk.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm ready for whatever's next.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I know.
Hadn't started.
I've been joking about this on the around the house. So I'm going to say it on a podcast so that it's public, so that on September 9th, something crazy is going to go down on the media. Apparently Hillary has a court date. So there's my prediction, just so it's out in public, that on September 9th, something crazy is going to be on the news. And it's not going to be that.
Let's do it. Let's go down this rabbit hole. So,
I shouldn't have done that.
Epstein's hottie. Epstein's hottie, right? Did you follow the Epstein story?
No.
So Epstein's, young lady friend there, she just got snapped up in New Hampshire. Now Epstein goes into that lockup in New York, and as we know, he didn't come out, right? Now they grab her in New Hampshire, and where do they send her? The exact same lockup that Epstein went to. Now, if you like a little bit of like, ooh, something's happening, what's going on, do a little research on Epstein and Clinton's and the rest of those guys, and who knows? There might be some thoughts that get connected. We'll have to wait and see.
But
look, Prince Andrew is not without fault either. So, it's I don't know if you watched that documentary on Netflix, but it was pretty insightful, pretty informational. But yeah. Hillary.
Interesting times for sure. All right. So we've talked a little bit about how you went from being a firefighter, you jumped in, you got in 2008 through a seminar, you've done a lot of crazy stuff, but yeah, what is going down now? Like, I think from what we were talking before, you're in the more of the syndication multifamily realm now.
Yeah. So we had January of this year, I was approached by a hard money lending company out of San Diego. And they said, Dave, nobody's really branded hard money before. As I said earlier, contractually, I'm able to kind of like make my own decisions now. And I said, I like that idea. And we opened up a hard money lending branch. We had about 15 million in the pipe. And we were working off of a $50 million line of credit to originate these loans to investors, hard money loans, a couple of points, 8%. We were doing 80-20 on the loan size. So 80% of the capital we would put up, they put up 20, and then we do the construction draws, pretty standard. But it was exciting because we could do it nationwide and we could scale it up. So we had, like I said, 15 million in the pipe, and COVID hit. And as soon as COVID hit, it shut down the hard money lending business, put me out of business in 3 days. Yeah. 3 days I was done, son, over, finished. And the reason is I couldn't sell our mortgages to Wall Street because Wall Street wasn't buying them. Secondary, you understand that from finance. Secondary, tertiary markets weren't buying up the notes. You're done. You've got no capital flow. So, I took a pretty substantial kick in the ass with that one. You learn your lessons, and God is good. You say a few prayers. You're open to the next opportunity. And gentleman I mentioned earlier, Walter Novicki. Walter was he was special forces in the Army. He's a military guy. He's a couple of years older than me, and I know him. I trust him. I love him as a brother. And he'd done about 125 million in syndicated multifamily acquisitions in the Gulf Coast region of Florida. So from Fort Myers, pretty much following Route 41, and I think it's I-75 almost all the way up to Orlando. And in that belt, he would focus on the secondary markets outside the metropolitan markets, and he'd look at maybe the 20 to 120 unit apartment complexes. So he had raised in his career about 120 million, syndicated deals one at a time, Dave, okay? Put maybe 10, 15 investors on one particular asset, and then pay them a rate of return after they go through the stabilization of the asset, raise the NOI, then you raise the value of the asset, then you can sell it for more money than you purchased it. It's almost, I was talking to a lawyer yesterday, and he said to me, he said, it sounds like you're doing flipping Boston on steroids. I said, yeah, it's kind of a way of looking at it. Yeah. So Walter and I and our team know that COVID is going to create a tsunami of opportunity in the multifamily arena for a couple of different reasons. The younger generation doesn't want to own a home. They're not interested in 30-year mortgages and following the same plan as their parents. So they become sophisticated renters. For that, they want quality home. They want services. They want amenities. So we focus on what's called a B-class property. B-class property is just a little less nice than that A-class property. All right, we might not have the best gym equipment, but we got gym equipment. So we focus on those in the Gulf Coast region, and then we buy those on their actual numbers at the date of acquisition. So instead of buying them on what they could be, we buy them on what they are. So to really capitalize on it, you need a big checkbook. So for us, the big checkbook to buy as much of this stuff as we possibly can under our buying criteria is to raise what's called a private equity fund. So our private equity fund is in its raise stage now. We went live Monday of this week, so a couple of days ago. And we raise $100 million. The first $5 million, once that's in the account, we now pay an interest on that money. And the way we structure our fund is we have a preferred rate of return back to the investors, accredited investors only. The accredited investor comes in, they get a 6% preferred return. And as soon as they hit that first 6%, which is all theirs, there's no fund management share, then there's an equity share in any profit over that. So the cash on cash targeted returns historically, based on what Walter's done in the past, come in at 8 to 10%. So an 8 to 10% cash on cash targeted returns, pretty substantial. It's better than, if you trail 20 years in the stock market, for example. And then because we buy assets and consistently raise the rent, raise the valuation, and then liquidate inside the fund, they also participate on the upside of the liquidation of the assets inside the fund. The fund will then run for 6 years, 1 year ramp up, 5 year performance, and it's called an IRR, or an internal rate of return. The IRR on these historically has come in north of 20% return. So it's a very, very nice play. It gives diversification because they own shares in the fund rather than having their capital pinned down on one asset. I know some guys who have invested heavily in the past 2-3 years in retail. And COVID taught us a lesson that people don't have to go to the fucking mall. You know what I mean? So if you ain't going to the mall, what's going on? And I know these guys, that some sponsors of these assets have had to make phone calls that no sponsor wants to make, i.e. there's no quarterly distributions this quarter, and we don't anticipate any next quarter while we try and, hold on to our asses and get through whatever this COVID is going to do to us. But people always need somewhere to live. So, that's the big picture, Dave. Obviously, there's details inside of that. But, single family houses, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 hits, they're great. But they're still a well-paying job. You know what I mean? They don't get my heart rate up. I've always been in commercial, which is something that I realized that people didn't know about me because of the questions that they asked me. They always thought he's just that guy from flipping Boston. But, as a professional real estate investor, you elevate your game every day, not just one day, but consistently going at it. And this is absolutely the next move. And then bringing people along with us so that they can benefit as well.
Yeah, I like it.
David and I have both made the transition to multifamily over the last year or so.
Yeah.
I paid out distributions for July, just so you know. Just so everybody knows, I paid out my distributions for July.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I
so modest.
Since I got educated, I haven't lost a dime in real estate, in actual purchasing and selling. Not a dime. I don't have one investor who has never received their distributions in my business. And I say that with pride, but here's why. Because I'm the most conservative asshole you'll ever meet. Yeah. I think it comes from my poor upbringing. Like, the concept of losing money, it breaks me out in like a rash. Like it gives me gastrointestinal issues. You know what I'm saying? So I never put myself or my investors in a position where failure is an option. And again, that goes to like a military or a firefighter background. If I go in, I know I'm coming out with the people I went with. It's just not up for debate. And I think of those financial relationships the same way.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say the same. I've lost a little bit here, but never investors' money. Always just mine, which is You know, if you're going to lose money, I suppose that's the way to do it, right? Make sure they get paid, take the hit yourself, and keep rolling. All right. So I got a few questions I always ask towards the end because I know we all got a day to start here soon. So
Sure.
if 18 to 19-year-old was to walk up to you asking you for advice on how to get started in real estate or just in life in general, and you only had a minute or two, what would you tell them?
Get educated, get a mentor. Next question.
All right.
I like this guy so much.
We can pontificate. There's no need, but those are the answers. Know what the fuck you're doing, and then follow somebody who's already doing it. But make sure you bring them some value. You don't get nothing for nothing in life, right?
I like it. All right. What is one resource, a book, course, website, or whatever that you would recommend to anybody looking to get started in real estate?
You know, I would usually go to like mindset reading because that was important to me. But, you know, with your audience, getting your mind right is priority every single day. You know what I mean? Making that conscious decision to do something. So I wouldn't necessarily say that would be my first recommendation. I would think about business. You know, the mechanics of real estate is pretty easy. It's mathematical equations that we can all do. But if that was the case, then why isn't everybody a real estate billionaire? So I would start looking at some business literature. Tim Ferriss is a fantastic resource. Jacko, like we said, is it Wallenick? You know, I know your audience would identify with that. I'm a big believer in the process and the business structure of Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield was the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And, you know, he's academic, you know, he's not rough around the edges, but the message is pretty tight. I spent a lot of time learning from him. I like Damon John. He's got some good stuff, you know, kid from the you know, the rougher part of town, you know, working out the back of his trunk of his car and where he is today. There's a good message in there and lessons to learn as well. So there's enough to get you going. And then on the real estate side, keep listening to David and Alex on the podcast and do what they tell you to do when they tell you to do it, and everything will be okay. How was that?
I like that. I appreciate that. We'll make sure we get you that royalty fee for that.
In the TV world, they call that product placement.
Yeah.
All right.
And there's a free book on our website as well.
That's what I was getting to right now. Is where can people get your book and where can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, go to the website is freedomventure.com. Freedomventure.com. If you scroll down on that front page, there's a free ebook on there, download, Unlocking the Code to Multifamily Investing. That was a book I wrote with one of our board members, a gentleman by the name of John Dessauer. Johnny's a prolific investor in the Chicago market and also in the Florida Keys. He's also a property manager. He manages somewhere around $100 million worth of real estate as an asset manager. So there's some good information in that book, and it's a free download. So you can grab that on the website. And if you want to connect with me on a business level, grab me on LinkedIn. Just Google my name, Dave Seymour, Seymour. And then you'll find me on Facebook and Twitter. I'm not on TikTok. They won't let me go on TikTok. They say I'm too old for TikTok. I don't know what it is.
Hey, what?
You guys are probably on there, huh?
Not successfully, but I definitely
look at him pointing. You're pointing the wrong way. You know the camera points in the other direction. That guy.
Every day my phone goes off TikTok. David Pere.
Oh, I appreciate that you have your notifications turned on and let me bug you. Thank you.
I don't watch them.
I don't care. I'm bugging you apparently every day without even meaning to.
He's in your subconscious, man.
That's it.
You used to say you're not renting space in my head free of charge, you prick.
Yeah, I charge him in other ways.
Yeah. You come on my show as a voluntary co-host and solicit all my guests for videos.
I love it.
Speaking of which,
I love it.
I really am going to come to Boston. I'm going to see you.
Do it.
I'm going to bring my camera and I'm going to do my magic and I'm going to add some real value to you. And then it's going to be undeniable. And then we're going to do a repeat episode. And you're like, this Alex guy is the real deal.
This guy's the biscuit. Yeah, I'll take it, man.
Yeah, he won't leave. He's a
seriously,
fucking
don't
leech.
Just talk shit. What's that leech? I'm not going to pay him.
You're not gonna pay, no, you're not going to pay me $1. You can't afford me anyway.
Oh, how you doing? How you doing? Seriously, don't just talk shit. Come on up, dude. Come on up for real.
I do talk shit, but I am a man of my word.
All right, cool,
and I'm gonna do it
cool.
over the next few weeks because I gotta schedule it in, but I'm gonna do that for sure.
All right, man. I look
Dave,
forward to it.
I have really appreciated this. You never know what you're gonna get when you
Right.
somebody who's been in the public eye is on a show, right? And unfortunately, too many of them aren't raw. And so I really appreciate the fact that you're still a firefighter.
Yeah, man. Yeah, back at you, boys. And I appreciate your past service, Alex. I appreciate your current service. This is, what we all do here is for a bigger cause. You know what I mean? So I know you got God Country Corps, but this is a great fucking country to be a part of, as long as you participate. Right? Don't ask what it can do for you. Ask what you can do for it. He made a statement. So. Seriously, fellas, I appreciate you. Fuck the TV world and all of that stuff. There's something realer going on here. You know what I mean? So if we can service our military and service them right, participate in helping the vets when they're coming out, participating in, financial education, we have a duty to do that. All of us, in whatever capacity we walk around in this community. So that's me to you guys. I appreciate you.
Well,
Hey, one last shameless plug. David Pere is writing a book, and I'm sure he's going to need some testimonials from a guy like Dave Seymour. I'm just saying.
All over it.
He's too humble to ask.
The title of this episode is going to be, did we talk about anything other than plugging ourselves?
Shameless plugs are good, bro.
I love it. No, I appreciate it, Alex.
It's all good. Yes. Yes to a testimonial. Yes to a trip to Boston. Whatever you guys need. It's all good.
Oh, man.
All right.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dave. It's
Pleasure,
been a blast.
fellas. Take care. God bless.
Thank you for listening to another episode about my journey from military to millionaire. If you liked it, be sure to visit FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/podcast to subscribe to future podcasts. While you're there, we'd love for you to rate the show, give us a review on iTunes. Now get out there and take action.